are February 21st, 2019. We've had a record amount of snowfall here in Iowa. Some of the records were since 1800s, with more snow predicted. Now the deer in this area have kept up pretty well. What we're going to do is give them some natural browse. We're going to cut this tree limb down. It's a elm tree, softwood. It's got many buds on top of it. So that fresh new browse will bring down to their level. And so we'll get after it. There's the tree. We're going to saw one of those limbs off. We won't saw them all off. We'll just saw one off. And that'll, as you can see up there at the top, that's all new growth up there. And with this snow depth, as you can see, it's really deep. And this would be the time to do some of that tree cutting like that. And so I'll get after it. Well, I couldn't find a tripod. I got tired of looking for it. Then I finally found it. Boy, getting old, trying to remember where you put stuff. But anyway, I got the tree on the ground. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over here. As you can see, some of the limbs are too high, so they wouldn't do the deer any good. They could stand up on their hind legs, but we'll saw some of those limbs off and get them closer to the ground, because we want them to be at ground level. That tree will furnish a lot of new browse. This is what they'll be foraging on. This new late growth. Still tender, it's full of buds, and you can see it better here. I assume that green right there, from about where my finger is, right there, was last year's growth. That was an old elm tree. And within 1 year, it went from growing robust to dead. And now it's just an old snag. At least this way, the tree that we just cut down will be consumed, because that's the fate of elm trees down here in Iowa. Just like Aldo Leopold stated, the axe and the saw will create a new natural food source brought down to the level of the foraging deer as they switched over to a woody browse. So there's plenty right there in that area. It's an excellent example of deep snow, south-facing slopes, and numerous deer beds. I mean, that sun is directly pouring down on them. The wind would be coming over the back. That's straight north. And this is a severe winter. And like I say, this is the deer beds. You can see some of them are relevantly fresh. Yesterday was a little warm and melted the snow out. But this is a benefit of a south-facing slope. But so let's find some more trees that we can cut down and provide some more food. And by the way, the trees that you cut down, they won't go to waste. They'll be cut up and used for firewood. So it's not like you're doing any criminal act by cutting a deer or a tree down for deer browse. But if you can look around in here, you can see the browse line is non-existent in here because of the height of the new growth. With all these secondary growth hickories and stuff, very little, if no food source from browse. It that's where I guess if you would in the hinge cutting, that would lower that and give some new growth, because you can see right now there's no browsing going on none of these trees whatsoever. Well, we cut several trees down. Couldn't get it on video, but you can see we cut all sizes down and try to get them with, like I say, the newest growth. We got quite a few of them down. We tried to get them with the most browse on top. And you notice there's deer trails is up through here. So they're looking for food. We got this big elm down here, and that had a big top on it, so lots of forage down there. More trees. We just try to be selective in cutting the ones that had the most buds on top. And that, once again, I want to emphasize that this is what they're going to be drawn to. That new green growth right there. Got a big one laid down up here. Had a lot of new growth on it. And hopefully we'll get some pictures of our labor. Yeah, that was a pretty good sized tree there. Lots and lots of browse on that one. So hopefully we just created a bunch of natural food browse for the white-tailed deer when the snow is this deep. Beautiful day, but we got some really rotten weather coming. Friday night and Saturday. So 40 degrees, 21st day of February. As you look out across here, this is the snowiest February on record. The record was back in the 1800s, and we broke it now with over 20 inches of snowfall since the 1st of February. That's a lot of snow. Well, here we are, a day later, the 22nd, and I want to show you what we've got here. I turn around, there was a tree that we dropped no more than 24 hours ago. You can see the deer tracks in here. You can see the browsing that's went on. Quite a bit of browsing. And fresh poop. Lots and lots of poop that wasn't here yesterday. And just by taking an undesirable tree to the ground and creating a natural food source. Anybody can do what I done here if they have the ambition. And like I said, these deer tracks are fresh. There wasn't any of those tracks in here where this tree laid or fell yesterday. About noon, I think I cut it down. And here it is a little after 4 on Friday. And we'll check the trail camera and that'll verify what we've seen in here. The nice thing about cutting these trees down is if a buck would get in here and start wallowing in there, it's a good place for them to knock their shed antlers off. And it's okay, but this, it's just covered, laden with deer sign. They've been in there, they'll be back again, but that food source would not have been touched had it been left up there in the air like that. Because right here, from this level, that's how high that food source was. And we brought it all the way down to ground level. Same thing here with this tree. Numerous deer tracks that weren't here yesterday. You can see where they've got in. Definitely see where they've nibbled on it. They've been in here browsing quite heavily. And just something that you can do natural. Like I say, so natural. Just to drop a tree, it's going to create more sunlight and grow better understory next year. Plus, it attracted deer with a natural food source. I really hope you learned something from this little escapade out in the timber, using what nature gives you. Like I said, the late Aldo Leopold, the axe and the saw will create deer habitat. And this is the simplest form, and you got two sources. You created a food source that will attract the deer for a while because they've changed over to their browsing now because of the ag crops, and even the food plots are depleted. So they're resorting back to their nature, and that saved these trees, because if I'd have cut them down early, they would have been consumed. But here on the 22nd of February, timing is important. Now they got a new food source at a critical time. We got an ice storm coming in tomorrow, which can be a God-given blessing. It can drop a lot of tree limbs down, and that is a really neat way of getting those tops of those trees down to where the deer can browse on them. So I hope you enjoyed this little escapade. I'll show a few more trees and pull some trail cameras, and hopefully I got some pictures to back up the what we did.